What is up, guys? Welcome back to my reaction channel. You know who it is, it's Chris. Today we're gonna react to the mystery of Yamashita treasure by Simple History. You know, guys, Yamashita treasure was a well sought after treasure that's still out there waiting to be found here in the Philippines. You know, so yeah, when it comes to the holy grail of treasures here in the Philippines, Yamashita treasure is the most famous of them all. But hey, like the video, guys, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell button for post notifications. If you have any suggestions, comment down below. Without being said, let's get into the intro.
Queen. The Mystery of Yamashita's Gold, 1944 to 1945. Throughout history, there have been many stories of lost, priceless treasures, like the chalice drunken by Christ at the Last Supper, that's said to be hidden somewhere in Glastonbury in Somerset, England. There's also a tale of a fabled city in South America called El Dorado that was said to be made of gold and contain precious gemstones in unbelievable quantities. Yet despite many expeditions to the region, it is yet to be found.
It's not true though.
Then there's the tale of a lost wagon train in medieval England. It was rumored to contain an enormous haul of gold collected by the tyrannical King John in taxation. It's estimated to be worth billions of dollars in today's value. The story goes that it was lost on the shores of Norfolk during a particularly violent storm. Supposedly it was washed into the sea, and to this day the treasure has never been seen again. Though some say it was all just a scam in order for the king to get out of paying a fortune he owed to some very powerful barons. In more recent times, in the later half of the 20th century, there were various stories of lost Nazi gold. There was even an unsubstantiated claim that the Vatican Bank was hiding some of this looted treasure. And then there's the intriguing World War II mystery that is commonly referred to as Yamashita's gold. It was claimed that the Japanese authorities, in conjunction with the Yakuza gangsters, allegedly looted a vast amount of valuables on a massive scale from the then-occupied territories towards the end of the war. It was intended for this loot to fund the Japanese war effort. Imperial Japan's own gold reserves had shrunk dramatically, paying for its military. This secret operation, named Kin no Yuri,
Keep in mind, guys,
the Golden Lily, was thought to have been masterminded by the legendary Imperial Japanese Army General Tomoyuki Yamashita, and it's rumored that Prince Yasuhito Chichibu oversaw the organization. Yamashita was a very well-respected general with a fearsome reputation, being known as the Tiger of Malaya. He was a highly decorated officer, having been awarded Japan's highest military honors, that of the Order of the Rising Sun, as well as the revered Order of the Golden Kite. Yamashita's brilliance was even recognized by Nazi Germany, who awarded him the prestigious Order of the German Eagle for his outstanding leadership against the Allies. Significantly, he had presided over the worst military defeat the British forces had ever suffered. This was when a significantly smaller Japanese force had overwhelmed the British garrison at Singapore in 1942, capturing over 80,000 British and Commonwealth troops in doing so. By the following year, Yamashita had fallen out of favor with the Japanese Prime Minister, Hideki Tojo, who he had clashed with often over various political issues. So he ended up being transferred to the isolated and remote northern state of Manchuria.
Pause, guys, pause. Y'all know those infamous trial courts, right? With Tojo and shit, that Hideki Tojo, right? This fool got slapped the fuck out of his head by one of the Japanese person. I don't know if he's a witness or he's a victim, but that guy was like sitting behind Tojo, and then he was like, he slapped the fuck out of Tojo, and Tojo was like, what the hell, man? Funny as hell.
Where he spent the next 2 years languishing in obscurity. Until September 1944, he was called back to run the defense of the Japanese-held Philippines. It was said he also took over a covert operation that had been running since 1943 of stockpiling looted valuables in the Philippines.
I'm telling you.
These had come from foreign banks, museums, temples, and churches located in Japanese-occupied territories like Hong Kong, Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, and parts of China.
See, bro?
By now, it's said that the Japanese had amassed a huge fortune, and it was storing it at Fort Santiago in Manila, the Filipino capital. But their plan to ship it all back to mainland Japan had become impossible, as U.S. submarines and aircraft now dominated all the shipping lanes out of the Philippines. Then the situation became even more dire, as over the next few months the U.S. launched a number of successful large-scale amphibious operations that captured a series of key cities in the Philippines. All these disasters forced Yamashita to disperse this gigantic haul of treasure across the Philippines in remote mines and caves. In order to make this possible, Allied prisoners were used to dig the intricate tunnel systems, and once the gold was safely stashed away, they were executed and buried along with the treasure. It is also said that Japanese officers even had their own engineers killed as well, to protect the secret locations of the gold. These highly secret locations were said to have contained elaborate booby traps consisting of such things as landmines, poison gas, and hidden pits full of sharpened bamboo sticks. It is said that there are over 170 locations, totaling over $100 billion in today's value. Yamashita retreated with his main force out of Manila and into the neighboring mountains. But against his...
Pause, guys. Fun fact though, there's this guy, I don't know his name, but during Marcos years, Ferdinand Marcos, one of the most controversial president in my country, there's this guy who managed to tug up a golden Buddha statue. And when you remove its head, it's full of diamonds. You know? It's full of diamonds and shit. So he dug the gold. There's a golden Buddha statues and shit. The thing is, Marcos confiscated the treasure. And he was tortured. I forgot his name before, but it is definitely a Filipino. Because, bro, during that time, it was very, very hard. You know, a lot of people who speak against Ferdinand Marcos is allegedly tortured and shit. Because he's like, I don't know, I don't live in that era though. So yeah, I got mixed feelings about it.
His orders, a large force of naval marines took it upon themselves to reoccupy the capital in an attempt to destroy all the port facilities and naval storehouses in the city that were all still relatively intact. What followed between February 3rd and March 3rd, 1945 was 4 weeks of fierce street-to-street fighting that resulted in a large part of the city being burnt down.
Shit.
The Japanese Marines during this time carried out some of the worst atrocities of the entire war. Going on a rampage, they carried out numerous mass shootings, beheadings, bayoneting, and the burning alive of unarmed civilians, many of whom were women and children. When the U.S. finally liberated the city, over 100,000 Filipino civilians had been massacred by the Japanese defenders. Yamashita and his remaining forces continued fighting throughout the summer, carrying out what was essentially a guerrilla warfare campaign. They finally surrendered in September, several weeks after the official surrender of Japan. Within a couple of months of being captured, General Yamashita was put on trial for war crimes regarding the slaughter of civilians during what had become known as the Battle of Manila. He was quickly found guilty, and just moments before he was executed on February 23, 1946, he gave a speech thanking the U.S. military for all their kindness and fair treatment he had received from them throughout his trial. He was then hanged. By the end of the war, the Japanese who knew the locations of the gold were all but killed in action or had been executed for war crimes. Many years later, the most famous man to have claimed to have found a portion of the treasure Yamashita is said to...
Pause. Guys, I don't have anything against Japanese, alright? I really don't have, but these people just... Your soldiers, fuck them all, for real. Y'all fucked up, for real.
To have hidden, made his discovery. His name was Rogelio Roxas, a former locksmith turned amateur treasure hunter in 1970. With information and a map he had received from Japanese...
Bro, it's not Rogelio Roxas. It's Rogelio Rojas. Alright, bro.
Informants with connections to Yamashita, Roxas claimed to have found a large golden Buddha statue and other valuable gold treasures buried deep in underground tunnels.
That's it, guys.
Inside were also bayonets, katanas, radios, and the skeletons of Japanese soldiers still in uniform. He further claimed that the then dictator of the Philippines, Ferdinand Marcos, swiftly confiscated all of this treasure and imprisoned him where he was tortured. Although Roxas escaped prison, as long as Marcos was in power, he had no chance of recovering this treasure. When Marcos was deposed in 1986 and went into exile in Hawaii, Roxas sued him 2 years later and won his case, But the supposed
Wait,
treasure
he sued
was never
him?
recovered.
I didn't know that. Damn, I didn't know that shit. Guys, like, I used to listen to my grandfather about this Yamashita treasure being buried somewhere else in a cave that is collapsed here in the Philippines and shit. And yeah, I used to like hear a lot of news about it, like, oh, they found the Yamashita treasure, only that it was not, it was a hoax and shit. It was like trying to gain attention or something. But today, still to this day, a lot of people still trying to find it, and that's a lot of gold, I'm telling you. And it's still out there, somewhere in a cave that is collapsed, and you don't even know it. But for me, just one gold bar, I'm sold out. I'm all good. I'm not gonna be greedy and shit. Just give me one gold bar. I'm not gonna take the rest. Cause bro, having too much treasure can bring misfortune if you can't even protect it. You know, it can bring misfortune to your families and shit. Also, guys, how do you claim a treasure? If you found a treasure, are you just gonna say, "Hey, this is mine"? But a lot of people would say like, "But this for museums and shit." Archaeologists people. Do you even need approval of those people to sell the stuff that you find? Because is it illegal or something? Let me know in the comment section. But hey, like the video, guys. Subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell button for post notifications. If you have any suggestions, comment down below. That is Yamashita Treasure by Simple History. I'll see